What's going on, guys? Icy Rhythms, welcome back. And in this video, I want to talk to you guys about my top 5 most underrated games of the current generation here in 2018. Gonna make this list. Keep in mind that this is just my list. Everyone is gonna have their own opinion of what the most underrated and most overrated games are of the generation, and I understand that for any generation. I understand that, but this is just my list, my opinion based on the games that I've played, based on the overall review scores, Metacritic, OpenCritic, just singling out one website, whatever it is. These are my top 5 most underrated games of the current generation.
Your horses, please.
You there, clear off. What's going on?
Get them knives.
Assassin's Creed Syndicate is going to be my number 5 most underrated, most underappreciated game of the current generation. And for me, I don't get crazy about these Assassin's Creed games. I've really only beat about 3 of them. I feel like every time I complete one or I get around to completing one, 2 or 3 more have come out. So Assassin's Creed for a while now has been really hard to keep up with based on the backlog and other games coming out around the same time. So, you know, Jacob and Evie Fry are, I think, the most enjoyable, the most charismatic characters that this series has seen in a long time. And Evie should have her own game. Absolutely, Evie should have her own game. I know that might be blasphemy to some to say that, you know, her not being associated with Assassin's Creed IP in some way, but I think they can still tie it in. But this is a great character. Jacob is also awesome. They both have their own skill set and different weapons, I think, that they prefer. The story is good. It's not great. It's not amazing. This isn't the best story that you'll play in video games or in entertainment in general, but I think it's good. I think the gameplay improved over some of the previous Assassin's Creed games in the series. I can't really speak to something like Assassin's Creed Origins. A lot of people say now that that is the best one in terms of the gameplay, but I really enjoyed the gameplay here. And the setting, like this time period, this era, Victorian London has always been very appealing to me, and I don't know why. There's always been that draw there, and I don't know what it is. It's very depressing. It's very doom and gloom. It has that look about it at times, but it also looks very beautiful at times. And this game, being 3 years old, still looks really, really good. And there's a story behind this game, a little bit more of a story, and I'll try to keep it short. When I got my 980 Ti, a week later, it was like exactly a week later to the day, they tied this game to 9 series cards. So I hit up Newegg and I'm like, look, I just got this card a week ago, and begged and I pleaded, and this guy was really nice. He was like, all right, I'm gonna do it this one time as a courtesy, but I'm just gonna let you know, don't expect something like this to happen again, because I'm gonna make a note on your account. And I'm like, okay. So I got the game and I just beat it like a month or 2 ago. So it's like 3 years later, I complain about having this game. I didn't get it with my card, and then I don't complete it until years later. It's just, it was so silly. I don't know why I didn't, but it's still a great game, and for me, highly underrated, and that's why it makes the list. I'm going to put The Evil Within 2 at my number 4 most underrated games of the current generation. I love survival horror games if they're done right. In terms of the way games like The Evil Within are made, there aren't a ton of those, at least not anymore. There was a period in gaming where it seemed like there were a lot of those, and everyone was trying to match up with stuff like, you know, Resident Evil and Silent Hill, and no one really got close to that, not for a while anyway. But I think that The Evil Within has that perfect blend, even more so than Resident Evil 4. It has that perfect blend of survival, horror, and action. And I think I would lean more toward, especially with the original game, more toward the survival horror aspect of that genre. So it's just, again, The Evil Within 2, it's an excellent game. Mikami was still very much involved in the game. He had a hand in it, but you could tell it felt like you could tell it felt like The Evil Within 2, it felt like he was maybe overseeing it more than actually being involved and wanting it to be something that was his, something that he owned, that he created, that was most of it was all of his own ideas. And I'm not saying that, I guess I am saying in a way that was part of it was a detriment, I think, to the second game. The second game's biggest problem is that it's just not the first game in terms of atmosphere. I think atmosphere for me played a huge role in why I couldn't just, it has its moments. Evil Within 2 has its very atmospheric moments, but I just can't put it in that same conversation like I can with the original Evil Within. Dying Light feels like maybe one of the best apology games in the history of all video games, even if that wasn't Techland's intent to apologize for Dead Island's mistakes and lack of polish. I think that's exactly what you got with Dying Light. The gameplay improved in a big way. I mean, the visuals improved in a very big way, and in my opinion, that all happened in a short period of time, and it's for the better. Everything about Dying Light was for the better. Some people swear by Dead Island. They still think and tell me that they really enjoyed it. It's a good game. I can't get behind that. I did play the game. I didn't really enjoy it much, and I probably won't ever return to Dead Island. But with Dying Light 2 upcoming, we now have official confirmation from Techland themselves. The game is and has been in development for some time. Chris Avellone is on board. That's even more exciting in terms of like the focus of storytelling, writing, and decision making, and how that will impact not only your character but the world around you. That's huge. That's a big deal. That's going to be a big step up from the original game, and I think that alone will help these review scores, these opinions of critics, and even the gamers themselves go much higher. I don't know if it can be like a 96 or something on Metacritic, but again, in the end, the only opinion that truly matters is that of your own. But I think Dying Light is criminally underrated for this generation. The sales reflect something different. The sales and the community that's still going, there's still thousands of people playing this game weekly. Those things reflect something entirely different, that people really love this game and they continue to play this game, and I think I speak for a lot of them as well. They're excited for Dying Light 2. The original Evil Within has got to be, it is arguably my favorite survival horror game ever, and Mikami definitely had his hands in this game, and it's written all over it, from the character designs, the creature designs. I think it's some of the best in all of gaming, but one of the best, if not the best, in the genre. The Evil Within is still, even now, 4 years later, an incredible experience. I feel like this is it's one of those games that makes you think about older titles like Resident Evil 4, and this is the kind of thing that you wanted to see when you made the leap to the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 hardware. Wasn't quite there yet. The Evil Within is a little bit more demanding than games like that at the time, but this is exactly what I wanted from Resident Evil 4, and it's not quite what we got, but I'm not taking anything away from Resident Evil 4. It's still one of the best games ever made, but I think The Evil Within is superior in terms of actually feeling like a great and amazing survival horror game with incredible atmosphere. Like if you're, I would say if you're easily scared, then and you like to be scared, The Evil Within is one of those games that you should be playing. And even though it's not perfect, just like any other game in this genre or any other game in any genre in existence is not perfect, I think it's in the conversation for being one of the most perfect, as perfect as you can possibly get for this genre. The Evil Within represents that. It is up there with your, Silent Hills, your Resident Evil, remake, your Resident Evil 2s, and hopefully we can say that about Resident Evil 2 remake as well. I'm thinking we will. That game's looking really incredible, but that's for a different video. But it's one of those games. This is a top 5 game of the generation for me. It's probably going to stay a top 10, top 20 game for me all time. It's, like I said before, it's Mikami written all over it, and I absolutely love The Evil Within.
Well, good. That's the way. Got him! Got him!
And before we get to my number 1, I want to talk about one really awesome, one specific honorable mention, and that game is Mad Max. Mad Max is a great game. This is a very well-made, open-world, action, shoot and loot type of game. It's incredible. Avalanche made this game. It has, even again 3 years later, still has amazing visuals. I think Avalanche has the best explosions in all of video games, and you can play their last 2 or 3 games and see that. Rage 2 looks amazing, okay? Just Cause 4 still look amazing. These guys are a little underappreciated. These guys, their games fly under the radar a little bit. I think Avalanche is going to be that next great developer. I think they just need that game. They need that. I don't know if it's going to be Rage 2 or Just Cause 4, but they need one of these IPs or a completely new IP to just take off, to put them on the level in the conversation with a Rockstar or a CD Projekt, a Naughty Dog, what have you. But they just need that one game, and I think they have the talent. The team is definitely talented, and Mad Max is great. Mad Max is a really good game. I don't care what anyone says. This game is underrated. It deserves to sit much higher in terms of review scores and sales for that matter. I don't know if we'll ever get another one. It doesn't look good, but if we do get another Mad Max game, I want Avalanche to make that game. I think they did a really good job here. It probably doesn't help that you release the same day or the same week as Metal Gear Solid 5. That probably wasn't a very good idea, but, budgets are what they are, deadlines are what they are, and sometimes that's just the way video games go.
Oh, fuck.
My number one most underrated game, some of you may or may not have seen this coming, Alien Isolation. I talked about criminally underrated games before. This game deserves so much more praise. Thank you, Creative Assembly. I don't know if you'll ever be able to make another one of these, but if there is a conversation to make one, I would prefer that you make it. Thank you very much. This game is not perfect, but there is so much love here. There is so much care. If you're a fan of the films, in particular the first film, and there's a little bit of the second film in this game, not too much, After that, there's really nothing, so we won't get into that. But if you're a fan of those original films, I can't see why you wouldn't fall in love with this game. It's slow at first, as it should be, right? Good survival horror games don't just throw everything at you all at once, right? There's a little bit of a build up, and Alien Isolation might have a little bit more of a build up than some other great survival horror games, but it's excellent. This game is, if perfection is not something that can be obtained, if absolute perfection is not something that can be obtained, it's still a 10. It's still a masterful game, because you could tell that on their team, Creative Assembly's team, there were developers that were huge fans of this series, and even those that weren't clearly did their homework. They clearly did the research to put the love and the care and the patience, the time that it took to make everything feel like one of those movies is, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine the development hours, the sleepless nights, and I appreciate it. I would love to get another one. Sega, I know that it didn't meet sales expectations, but please give Creative another shot. I know that the next game will probably be even better. Just give them a bigger budget, and I'm sure that they will blow the doors off. Give any marketing money that's necessary. Just give it to them. I guarantee you Creative Assembly will make it worth it, not just for them, but for us, the fans, as well. If you're into, I feel like even if you're not the biggest fan of survival horror games, this is a must play. If you're a fan of the films at all, and you've been on the fence about this game for the last 3 or 4 years, it's a must play. You have to play this game. I get it. Some people are more easily scared than others, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. Even now, this game, I've played it probably 6 or 7 times. 5 of those all the way through, I would say, maybe close to that. And it still has its moments. It still has its moments where I'm like, damn, it got me, like heart skips a beat a little bit. So I love it. I love this game. That's my top 5 most underrated games of the current generation. What are your top 5 most underrated games of the current generation? We're all going to have our own opinions. Let me know in the comment section, or a video response. You can @ me with that video response on Twitter. Links for Twitter and Twitch down below. Thank you guys again for all the continued support. Take it easy. Peace.
Maybe one of these things had a key card.